Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, Floyd, someone asked me about Floyd Mayweather and asked me that obviously with all the big fights happening and Joshua Fury looking like it's a done deal, would Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao still be the biggest fight in boxing? If Floyd was to come back and fight Manny Pacquiao, do you think it would be bigger than Joshua Fury? And do you think Floyd would obviously come back and fight Manny Pacquiao because of the fact that he'd see all these guys making a lot of noise in boxing, and Floyd, being Floyd, would want to come back and outdo Joshua Fury? I do think that Floyd Mayweather v Manny Pacquiao would be bigger than Joshua Fury. I think financially it would be a lot bigger. I think the intrigue of seeing that fight and the possibility of Floyd potentially taking an L at this stage with Pacquiao, although Pacquiao's been inactive as well, and although he's been more active and he's recently fought against a legitimate fighter in Thurman and beat him. So a lot of people would think that Floyd Mayweather could potentially take an L, and we all know that many fans wanted to see Floyd Mayweather take an L. That's why there was so much intrigue around Floyd Mayweather fights. And I actually think if Floyd Mayweather had taken an L, he wouldn't have got as much audience watching him, people buying pay-per-view, if he had taken an L. Because people wanted to see Floyd Mayweather lose. They wanted to be watching when Floyd Mayweather may be the night where he finally takes an L. And I think and that's why I think a lot of fans watch Floyd Mayweather fights, because he wasn't the most exciting fighter, especially towards the back end. Early on he was. I don't think people give him credit for what Floyd was early on when he was Pretty Boy Floyd. He was quite exciting, but towards the back end of his career, his fights were quite boring. I remember I fell asleep a few times because you kind of knew what was going to happen. You kind of knew what he was going to do, even though at times I used to enjoy watching it. But when 4 a.m. in the morning, I used to be knackered. I think the second Maidana fight I fell asleep. The first Maidana fight was really intriguing, and when the way Maidana came out, I was really excited. And I think on the first Maidana fight, I think Khan was also fighting on the undercard. So I was watching that fight, watching that whole card with intrigue. I think Broner was on there, Khan was on there, and Floyd was also fighting. It was just, that's why I was really intrigued. But yeah, I do believe that the fight would be financially bigger than Joshua Fury, and I think it would be the biggest fight in boxing even now. Even though there's two fighters over 40, I think globally those two guys are the biggest stars in boxing in terms of their global recognition. And when you put them two together, you're gonna create a huge event. You're gonna create a monster event. So nothing beats Mayweather Pacquiao in this era. Even though the first fight was a dud, I think if they were to do a second fight, even now at the ages that they're at, and they've obviously clearly passed their best, way past it, it'd still be massive, and it'll still be globally a lot bigger than Joshua Fury. Even though those two guys are in their prime, and it would be for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, those guys don't have the same appeal globally that Mayweather Pacquiao have. So they can't really you can't really compare, because you're talking about two icons and probably two of the greatest fighters ever, in the top 10 in most people's books of the greatest fighters ever to live and to lace them up. So I don't think anything compares to Mayweather Pacquiao financially and how big that fight is. But obviously I think the interest in Fury Joshua is massive, because like I said, it's two guys in their prime, and it's a huge fight here in the UK especially. I think, don't get me wrong, I think we are overestimating, especially us guys here in the UK, overestimating how big that fight is. I don't think that fight globally is as big as what we think. It's big, but it's a monster fight here in the UK. I don't think, although there'll be hardcore Americans watching the fight, of course they'll watch because it's for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, so the Americans will watch. But it's not an American involved, so I don't think it's gonna be as big as what we think. I don't think the Americans, like I said, the hardcore fans will watch, but I don't think the casuals will really get into two Brits having a fight. You know, will the casual American audience tune in to two Brits? I don't think so. So I don't think the fight's as big as what we think. I think it's a huge monster UK fight without question. But I just don't think globally it's got anywhere near the reach of Mayweather. If Mayweather Pacquiao were to fight again, that would be on pay-per-view here and it would do huge numbers here. Yeah, it wouldn't do as much as Mayweather, Fury, Joshua, of course not, but it'd do massive numbers here as well. You know, the first fight, but Mayweather Pacquiao, it did huge numbers. Did over 1 million pay-per-view buys, 4 a.m. in the morning. That's unheard of. But that's how big that fight was. And God knows what it did in the US. It would have done stupid numbers in the US. You know, those guys were on another level. And not just that. Let's be honest, both those fighters are better than Joshua and Fury. Both of them will go down greater fighters. They're top 10, probably in the top 10 greatest fighters of all time. You know, their global appeal, how good they were as fighters, and how they're ranked, you know, when it comes to an all-time great point of view. They're just on another level, both Mayweather and Pacquiao. So yeah, I don't think anything compares to that in this era. Mayweather Pacquiao, if they were to fight again, would be the biggest fight. But do I think the fight happens? No, because Mayweather's smart. Mayweather is not going to come back to fight in a fight when it's risky because he could lose, right? Mayweather's not been active since 2015. That's almost 6 years. He's not going to come back and fight Manny Pacquiao, even though Manny Pacquiao's also past his best. But Manny Pacquiao's been recently active. He just fought 2 years ago. So that's 2 years and 6 years, a big difference. You know, you're talking over a half a decade that Mayweather, you know, hasn't been in a competitive fight against a boxer. So he's not going to come back, to answer your question. He's not going to come back to fight Manny Pacquiao because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense for him. So yeah, Sam, he's not gonna come back because he knows it's too risky, and Mayweather could fight other guys and make a shed load of money without the risk. Now, would he be willing to put his undefeated record on the line? And I'm pretty sure at this stage he'd be having doubts coming into a fight with Manny Pacquiao because Mayweather is old. So he's not gonna put his undefeated record on the line. And you know, a lot of his career is based around being undefeated, right? He's not gonna come back at the age of 44 and give all of that up, right? And then live the rest of his life with an L. Yeah, I just don't see it. I think if Floyd Mayweather had lost, with the amount of emphasis he put on his O, although he used to say it wouldn't have affected me, and it, you know, we all take losses in life, I think it would have affected him big. So because like I said, I think that O meant so much to him. He put so much emphasis. He kind of changed the way many fighters feel about taking tough fights. You know, he kind of changed the whole complexion of boxing. He changed the mindset of boxing because so many fighters started emphasizing that O so much, making that O so important, right? That they started taking less risky fights. They started taking easier fights because they want to pad up their record. They want to be undefeated, right? Because not everybody's as good as Floyd Mayweather. Not everybody, you know, and let's not forget, Floyd Mayweather's a good manager. He picked and choose the fights as well. Yes, I get that. He did do that, but he fought everybody. But not everybody has the talent of Floyd Mayweather where they can fight the fighters that he fought, even whether they were in their prime or past their best, regardless. You know, many fighters have lost to guys that were past their prime and still lost because they weren't good enough. You know, so what I'm trying to point out is that Floyd Mayweather wouldn't risk his undefeated record at this point in his career because it means a lot to him. Being TBE is based around being undefeated, and making a lot of money. And yeah, I get, if someone offered him 400-500 million, would he come back and risk his undefeated record? I don't think he would, because I think that means a lot to him. Just as much as money means to him, I believe that his undefeated record means just as much to him. So he's not going to come back and potentially risk getting beat by a guy that he's already beaten, by a guy that really was very important in the career of Floyd Mayweather. A Manny Pacquiao fight was very important to how Mayweather was going to be perceived, because many felt that Manny Pacquiao was the other great in his era. So if he had lost to Manny Pacquiao, everything that Floyd Mayweather had done, don't get me wrong, he still would have been a legend and still would have been great, but he wouldn't have been regarded anywhere near what he is today if he lost to Manny Pacquiao. I feel like he would have been he wouldn't have been seen as great, because Manny Pacquiao was the other great in his era, the other legend, the other icon in his era. And if he had lost to him, it definitely would have hurt his legacy. So I don't know whether he would want to risk all of that by coming back and giving Manny the opportunity when it would favor Manny Pacquiao. You'd probably say Manny Pacquiao would be the favorite, because like I said, Floyd Mayweather didn't look good against Conor McGregor, and Floyd Mayweather is old now, and he hasn't fought for a very long time in a competitive fight. So I just think that Floyd Mayweather loves money, but I think the risk is too much, and I think Floyd Mayweather loves his undefeated record just as much, and he wouldn't want to put that on the line at this stage in his career. So I don't think that fight is a realistic fight. I said this like a year ago, that this fight's not going to happen. About a year and a half ago, he was tempting the fans that he's going to come back and fight Pacquiao, but I don't think so. I think that time and that ship has sailed. I think we saw it once, and I think now it's time for the younger generation to come through and give us the fights that we want. Listen, if Mayweather Pacquiao got announced, would it be great? Yeah, of course it would, but it's not going to happen. If we're realistic, Manny Pacquiao joined PBC and Al Heyman to get the Mayweather fight. If it was going to happen, it would have happened. And Mayweather was not interested. So yeah, I think Mayweather's retired. He's not going to come back. They're both old. They're both at the end. So if they did come back and fight, it would be a fairish fight, because they're both old. But again, Pacquiao's more active. He's been fighting recently, and like I said, I don't think Floyd Mayweather would want to risk it at this point in his career, because he doesn't need to. He's already beaten Manny Pacquiao. So there's no reason for him to come back and risk his undefeated record. I don't think any kind of money would get him to risk that at this point. I just don't think even $1 billion he would risk his undefeated. Why? He's got all the money in the world. He can make so much money fighting these YouTubers. Why does he need to fight Manny Pacquiao, which is probably gonna be a risk to his undefeated record, a big risk to his undefeated record, when he can fight these YouTubers who haven't got any chance of beating him, and he could make 50, 60, 70 million. You'd rather have 10 fights like that are not even fights for you, and win easy, win comfortably, and make a shed load of money that way. Because he could have 20 fights or 30, 40 fights with a YouTuber. It won't compare to one fight with Manny Pacquiao. And it's, he could beat them all on one night. On the same night, he could beat all 30, 40 of them. So, it's not going to happen. And like I said, I did want this fight to happen. A year ago, I did want this fight to happen, because I thought the first fight was a dud, and I thought they owed it to the fans to give us a better fight. But I think I said this about a year ago. This rematch isn't going to happen. So we need to stop thinking that it's going to ever happen. It's not. But yeah, that's the answer to your question, Sam. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you think Floyd might be tempted after seeing Joshua Fury and the scale of the event? Will it tempt Floyd Mayweather out to fight someone like Manny Pacquiao, to overdo something like Joshua Fury? Because remember when Gennady Golovkin I'm tired, man. Sorry. When Canelo Alvarez was going to fight Triple G, right? Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor like a month before, and he completely took the shine, or took the limelight away from Canelo and Triple G. Even though that was a monster fight, Floyd Mayweather just took it away from them. And Floyd Mayweather's a master at doing that. So it wouldn't shock me, but I doubt it. I don't think Floyd Mayweather's at that stage in his career where he would want to risk something like that. He's too old. He might put on a YouTube fight, but a YouTube fight isn't gonna Mayweather against a YouTube fight isn't gonna outdo Tyson Fury and Joshua. The only way he would be able to outdo something like that is if he was to fight Pacquiao. That would outdo anything, like, because it's just huge. It's a huge event. Majority of people will be talking about Mayweather Pacquiao then rather than Fury Joshua, and that kind of shows how big both those guys are. That even though they would be way past their prime, a fight between those two could overshadow something like Joshua Fury. It would definitely overshadow it by a country mile. Like I said, Mayweather fought McGregor, and that was kind of like a circus act. Everybody knew who was going to win, and that completely overshadowed Golovkin and Canelo. And that was a huge fight. That was the biggest fight in boxing at that time. You know, so yeah, Mayweather can overshadow a lot of things. He's got that fame. He's got that appeal. He's globally recognized a lot more than Joshua and Fury. So yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think Floyd Mayweather could put an event on even now and outdo Joshua Fury? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below and let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.